Have you overdosed on quick-fire ways to grow your YouTube channel? I'm here to tell you, you're wasted your time! Hello, people of the globe. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lena Norms and I've been here for 10 fucking years. As you might know, I released a poetry zine. Show the merch, Lena. Where the fuck is... I released this to celebrate the fact that I've been on YouTube 10 years. It's a poetry collection about my 20s. All the poems, not all the poems I wrote in my 20s because that would be in my diary, but a lot of poems I wrote in my 20s about the struggles of being in your 20s and how confusing it is. But during my 20s, a big feature of my 20s was YouTube. I started this YouTube channel when I was 19 years old, and I'm now 29, and it feels like somewhat of a big deal. It feels like a big deal. But it doesn't feel like a big deal because I want to keep doing it and I don't really regret all the ways that I've done it. So I was thinking of making this video like, what have I learned? And then, you know, you have that moment when you're like, well, what have I learned? Did I learn anything? Perhaps I've only depleted in intellect since then. But on the optimistic side, in case I haven't, I have made a little list of things that I have learned about YouTube, kind of just because I think it's interesting to record and look back on, and also because I know a few of you still want to make YouTube videos and hesitate about that, or potentially make them and struggle with it. I kind of loathe that I automatically call them YouTube videos because I guess they're just videos that exist on the internet. While YouTube, the company, can be a fickle friend, a flighty partner in creativity, it's also been really great for me and supported me a lot, but it's not really the only way I could distribute these videos. I can distribute them anywhere, and actually at the end of the day, I think a lot of the core community, the people that I talk to, is either in the secret Facebook group I've got for Gumption Club members on my Patreon or on Instagram. So really, I want to encourage people who want to make videos on the internet that you can, and there are lots of like ways to think about it and do it that don't have to be toxic and harmful. I've definitely got more good than ill out of making the videos, and hopefully you've got more good than ill out of watching them. So I thought I'd just bring together some of my thoughts about that today. For context, I was doing YouTube just for fun for about 7 years of that, and then for the last like 3 years I've had a Patreon open and I've been able to commit more time to it, take on partners that I really believe in and matter, that can financially contribute to me taking less time in an office. I do still work part-time in an office. I'm 2 days a week in an office, and then the rest of the time I work for myself doing freelance projects, or I work on this. There's definitely times when I felt like not a real YouTuber for not having it as my full-time role, but I also think that has kind of been the key to me making content, being able to find enough information in the world and excitement in the world to be able to make content that I'm excited about, and to have a healthy relationship with it. My first tip is share learnings, not updates. Now, again, I'm not going to give you the cliche thing that's like make what you want to see, but I think it is really valuable to inspect when you're watching something on Instagram or on YouTube, like why you switch off, why you're like, oh no, or like why it exhausts you, and what are the negative parts of sharing content online. For me, that is people who share too much, not just of themselves or like their personal lives, because I think I have shared quite a lot of myself online, but updates. Like, why do I need to update you about my life? It's quite boring. It should be boring. I find that Instagram stories is a real like big temptation where people can make really easy amounts of content, because the idea is that the more present you are in somebody's life, the more they're going to like you, and then the more they're going to stick around. And I don't really think that's true for me. I actually think I prefer creators where I hear from them when it matters. I always remember that they're around, and I come to them if there's something big that's happened that I want their opinion on, and I see if they've made something on it. But I often really love the creators that make videos that I can watch 3 times rather than 3 videos that I could only watch once and couldn't get to the end of. So I think thinking about whether your life is interesting and truly interesting, not just interesting to the people that love you or like have intrinsic value, which of course they do, but whether they're genuinely interesting. Like, I only really vlog if I'm doing something really interesting and I genuinely think I have something to say about it. I don't really like sharing updates that's like, at the gym, this is what I'm eating, this is where I am. One, because I feel like that is personal information and I'm scared, but more than it being personal information, it's quite boring information, and I think that it's hard for us to admit as millennials, as people who grow up being told that they were the most special people, the most individual, they were going to get whatever they wanted that a lot, the building blocks of a good life means that several parts of it will be quite boring and not worth of a watch, and that's okay. I try now to share on Instagram stories when I have something to say, if it's banal but it's funny, or I think it's funny. Like the other day I shared a picture of my washing basket and made a joke about it and I thought it was funny. Or when I've genuinely prepared something to say and I have something that's worth interrupting somebody else's day for. And that doesn't no shade to people who do share their day. And I know there's like a cathartic element to that for some people, but because I'm not one of those people, I don't want to make that kind of content, because I want to make content for the people who aren't in that place where they want switch off content. I want to make switch on content most of the time. That's a creative choice you have to make as a person, but I think like one or the other. Like, both is a confusing place to be in. And also when you've promised somebody one and you give them the other, that's also confusing. So I think there is an element of like, yeah, it's art and you create it for you, but also it's a communication. I only want to I will make anything that I want, but I only share what I think I've communicated well and that will be effective for you. And that doesn't mean perfect, but it does mean that I've thought about you. I've thought about the viewer before I share it. I think that is the difference between having a relationship with somebody, having a friendship, having a back and forward, having a connection with people and wanting one, or monologuing at a stranger on the bus. You know, I'm not saying I've always got that right, but I think it's something that I now have solidified in my head as definitely like a path I want to go down, and I do ask myself that question when I share stuff. I think there are exceptions to this, so like obviously it's a value if you are leading a marginalized life, so if you have a disability or you're coming from an eating disorder or you're from maybe the queer community or spaces where people haven't been previously been able to imagine the day-to-day existence of, or like demonstrating something that is the day-to-day and like is doing the boring thing in a different way, then I think it's like really important and is a good way to represent that, and you will find people who want to consume that and need to consume that. But I guess I'm generally just trying to say, like, let's stop making homework for each other. I think there's a danger that like we create so much content and we don't have time to, there's not enough hours in the day for other people to consume it, and if people don't consume it, then we feel like we don't have value, and that is ridiculous. And it also, I guess it also feeds into a kind of celebrity attitude that I don't agree with, is that like if you love a celebrity and you love what they make, or as an artist you like what they make, you should be interested in what they have for breakfast. Obviously there is a curiosity there, but I think that is like something we need to unlearn, that like our heroes can be boring and it doesn't make their art any less valid. The second one is forget the numbers, see the people. What I've found has been, and by accident, much more advantageous for me career-wise, while also just being like much more wholesome for me, much better for me, and more enjoyable and more in line with what I believe about humanity, is growing a small to medium audience, or having one grow around me. I feel like some people are like, how do you grow a YouTube channel? And I'm like, it's not a fucking plan. But I've been lucky enough to have that grow around me. I almost feel a little bit passive in that I just make the content, you guys turn up and make the community around it. I'm much more excited if I recognise the username, I recognise somebody has come back and commented again on another video, or somebody I recognised from years ago, or somebody's like, I watched your video 3 years ago and I've changed my life in this way and I just wanted to tell you the effects of that video. That's way more exciting to me, and I think it should be to you too, than 6 figures under a moving box of your face. You don't know whether those people finish the video, like the video, kind of passively hate you. For me, that's not success, and that's probably easy for me to say because I don't have it, and maybe if I did have it, I'd be like, actually, this is the goal. I don't think it's fulfilling creatively to just have silent people staring at you, because it's the difference between seeing a stadium filled with people who have no expression and are blankly staring at you, or being in the downstairs area of a small pub getting drunk with people who are shouting things out as you do the show that you're performing and contribute at the end and want to talk to you about what they liked about it afterwards over beer. Like that's how I feel about the audience that I have. I've been thankfully gifted by the gods, and and the idea of fame on the internet. And I think that's what can break people a lot of the time, being watched but not seen, being consumed but not considered. And that's what's lovely, again, about, say, like the Gumption Club, who are my Patreons. I reached 500 Patreons, which meant that I said if I reached that goal, then I would release a short story in audio form, which I did for them. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe we should set another goal. What happens if I get 1,000 patrons? What should I do then? What would you guys want? And everybody was kind of like, Lena, we think you should have a sleep. You're working quite hard, and we think that maybe you should just relax. We don't need anything else from you. We just want you to keep making videos. And I was like, guys, you are the OG grandparents I never had. Yeah, I think that speaks a lot. And again, when people comment on my videos to ask questions, they're like, sorry if this is a personal question. You don't have to answer it. And then they give the question. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I like that consideration. Or, I know this video is about feminism and blah, 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 but I just wanted to say I like your lipstick, rather than like, you look fucking hot. Like, you know, and obviously I've got those hate comments, especially when I've uploaded videos that involve mentioning the EDL and the British Empire and feminism and weight. But they don't really affect me because of the outweighed comments of the nice stuff. And that means, like, if you've left me a nice comment, you've been part of that toxic rape threat, death threat side of it not really affecting me as a person. So thank you for adding to that weird pool of protective water against... Where is this analogy going? The spiders swimming in it. Number 3, be a version of yourself that isn't exhausting. Now, I have been that person. Actually, my day's not too bad. For breakfast I had a...
In my pants, imagine a dahlia.
What's the lens's excuse to the police officer? I've been framed, officer.
It's on for you, Barry.
And I hated it. And it was so exhausting to make videos, and afterwards I wouldn't be able to talk to anyone really, because I was this person, rather than the person that I am when my friends come round. And I don't think it does take practice to become that person again on camera. One of the things that really helped me, because people are like, how do you listen to your own voice all the time to edit? And how do you like look at your own picture without getting either ridiculously self-consumed or utterly hating your face? And I'll tell you, it's nothing fancy. I worked out quite early on that you see this viewfinder here. That's so I can see that it's still recording, and I need to see that red light, otherwise I don't know if it's recording. But if you flip it like that, obviously it goes either way, but if you flip it like that, you can still see it's recording, but you see yourself upside down. And now I don't know what it is about the human brain, but seeing myself upside down doesn't bother me seeing myself. It doesn't bother me as much. It doesn't give me like some kind of weird dysphoria or that kind of thing. So that's a top tip. Another top tip, if you haven't noticed, is that most of the time I don't wear my glasses in my videos. That's about 33% vanity, 33% practicality, because I can't stop them from doing this glare thing, and 33% is solving this problem. When I have my glasses off, I genuinely can't really see myself in the viewfinder as much. Like, I don't even know. If you've seen some of my videos that are out of focus, that's why, because I can't fucking see the viewfinder without my glasses on. But it real works if you don't want to watch yourself in the mirror all the time and you are sight impaired. Sight impaired? That's sightually impaired. Let's go. Also, I sometimes edit by the sound waves, so I'll sync the video up with the audio, and then I'll be doing something else, like I'll be listening to a podcast, or I'll be on the phone to somebody, and I'll go through and I'll snip out, obviously, where all of the silences are, so that I'm not spending as long editing the video, in the fact that I'm not looking at my face for as long, but I am editing the video. So there's ways to avoid your face, because I think that it's not very natural for a human to have to look at their face for that long while they're editing. But also it's really helped me to come to terms with what my voice sounds like, come to terms with what I look like. And in the same way that when you live with someone, or you're at school with someone, you don't really think every day about how they look. You become like that for yourself, and you're like, this is just who I am every day, this is just my face, it's fine. So I think it's actually really helped with my confidence in that. Not that I think I'm like fucking Kate Moss, but just that I'm like, of course this is my face. Obviously there's still a disconnect because everybody has one, but the disconnect between what you think you look like in your head and what you actually look like is far smaller for me now, and I think that can only be a good thing. Although it's obviously a little bit weird at the beginning, and that's fine to feel like that. The next one is elevate what you like and not what you don't.
Hard Times, Charles Dickens. I didn't enjoy it, and I'm not going to apologise for that.
This has exceptions. There have been moments where I've called out institutions as big as the British Empire and once or twice responded to another YouTuber, not being like they're awful, but being like, what they said here was not great for these reasons, and here's what we can learn from it and move forward with. I don't regret those instances, but I've only probably done it about 3 or 4 times in the last 10 years, so I'm very careful with when I do these. But generally, I've stopped reviewing books badly. Mainly because at one time I said I didn't like Catcher in the Rye, and fuck me, people have not left me alone about that.
Absolutely think this book is a pile of steaming, hot, sizzling horse manure. Like, genuinely, I think it's the worst book I've probably ever read. But I've tried it both ways, and I just don't understand. It's just a really angsty boy wandering around, moaning about everything. And if somebody else says the word phony to me ever again, like, I'm just gonna,
Mainly because I think that as a creator, as somebody who makes stuff, I understand how heartbreaking it is to for somebody to misunderstand it, for somebody who it's not for to not like it, for somebody who's not in the right place to absorb it, or somebody who doesn't really get what it was supposed to be, openly tell other people how much they hate it or don't like it, how heartbreaking that is, and how I don't really want to inflict that when I'm somebody who doesn't really know everything about art. So what I hope I have been doing instead, and again also because I work in publishing, so there are lots of books that I've like thought about reviewing badly, or been like, I don't really get this book, and then I have to work with that author or meet that author or interview that author on stage, and they turn out, not only would I not want to do that to anyone, but on top of that, they turn out to be fucking lovely, and I go back to the book and I'm like, oh, I just didn't get this book, or maybe I still don't like the book, but oh, I want them to keep making their art, and other people like their art, so who am I to say? So most of the time, I really avoid making my content about how I don't like other people's content, because I don't think it's productive. I don't think it stimulates creative growth, and I think that it's much better to have work that you don't think is great fade into the background, to just not be told about, not to be remembered, rather than to be put in the village square and stoned. You know, that comes back to the first point, in that I'm much more hesitant about sharing what I'm currently reading. Only Patreons can see my my Goodreads and can see what I've actually read this year. Everybody else, I'm not putting that publicly. Authors can't follow it and see if I've read their book and what, you know, and then therefore how I've rated it. Because I like to keep those things not completely secret, but not at the top, not at the forefront of my creativity. Your content shouldn't be about telling other people that their content isn't great. It should be finding stuff you do like, that you do enjoy, and explaining why you love it, explaining why there should be more of it. Occasionally saying how it could have been improved, but mainly not. And again, there's books like Station 11 that I definitely was really confused by at the beginning and didn't like. And then the longer I stay away from that book, the more I'm like, I think that was one of the best books I've ever read. So as an audience member, I don't trust myself to harshly critique stuff. And I think it's more challenging to make work like that than it is just make videos that's like, I hated this, I liked this, hated this, I like this. It's much more challenging to come up with more creative ways of presenting what you want to say, and I think that's a good thing. It'll be good for you. It's a good skill. It's a much better skill to grow. Don't be an expert, be invested. Does anybody else have fever dreams about being cancelled? Because I do all the fucking time. And I think we create the binary of cancel culture by pretending to be all-knowing, all-powerful, the Wizard of Oz. And I'm grateful for the times that I have talked about doing something and then openly failed at it, like the no-buy challenge, that I didn't fail at completely, but I didn't completely complete. And I was surprised that I didn't get more pushback from that, people being like, fuck you said you like the planet, but you fucking don't. I hope that I present it in a way that's like, here's what I'm invested in, here's what I'm worried about, here's how I feel about this topic, and therefore here's what I'm going to try in action, rather than being like, personally, if you don't do this, you hate everyone and you're stupid. Because again, like, a lot of people that I now know in my adult life grew up in very liberal areas with very liberal beliefs, and they grew up in very cosmopolitan cities and cosmopolitan friendship groups where people talked about social issues and how people are conditioned to be hateful. But a lot of people didn't grow up like that, and I didn't grow up in a school like that or an area like that, and I find it completely counterintuitive to expect perfection and knowledge of a wealth of context from people who haven't had the opportunity to learn that yet. And I think we should all be open to meeting those people, making content for those people, and also being that person, not knowing that you're that person, and then discovering that you are. The same with climate change. I hope that what I have made so far has helped you not feel so alone about your panic about it. Well, I'm definitely not the best person about it. I definitely don't spend every day trying to solve it. And that's something I'm working through, and something that I'm reading about, and something that I'm carefully considering about how to act on. And yeah, I probably should have fucking saved the world by now, but I haven't. Unless you are a legit expert with a PhD, don't claim to be an expert on somebody. Claim to be joining the conversation, which is what you are in fact doing at any level, however informed you are. That will bode well for you when you realise that you're wrong, which we all do every fucking day. And the last one is, don't be the algorithm's fucking bitch. Have you overdosed on quick-fire ways to grow your YouTube channel or your blog or your Instagram? I'm here to tell you, you're wasting your time. It doesn't... I do social media as my job. I charge other people to do their social media. I understand the algorithm, what it wants and how it changes what it wants. It's the most ultimate gaslighty, abusive relationship, following an algorithm, a social media algorithm. What the fuck? Remember when YouTube responded really well to videos under 2 or 3 minutes, and everyone started like crafting the art of making a 2 to 3 minute video, and then now it rewards half-hour videos. All of that is to do with what the ads reward, what it's to do with money. It's not to do with what makes a good video. You can have a good video that's a minute long, you can have a good video that's an hour long, you can have a shit video that's an hour long, because fuck me, there's a lot of those out there now because of the ad placements you can get along an hour. And it's the same with writing to a trend. Like, I was thinking when I was just trying to write books, which I still am, it's like, oh, what's trendy right now? Like, what's the next thing? Is witches in YA? Is it this and what? Is it this? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, maybe I should write a book like that first, just so I can get in the door and I can get enough money to then write more books that I really want to write. And then I was like, hang on, no, because by the time you've made something, the trend will have changed. And it's much better to make something that isn't on trend or within the algorithm's hungry little needs. It's like, feed me seed more, feed me all night long. It's much better to make something that is not within those parameters, because the word of mouth is still a real thing. There are probably about 5 or 6 YouTubers that I really fucking love, and I love them so much that I don't need their videos in my subscription feed, because I check their channel. Like, if I haven't heard from them in a bit, I'll just go to their channel and be like, I wonder if they've uploaded anything, and they have, or, you know, on their Twitter, and I remember that they exist, and I go and seek out their content because it means that much to me, and I'm that excited about it. And I think it's better to aim to have people actually as humans remember who you are than have a computer have to remind them that you exist and that you make content. Obviously, notifications and telling people that you're making stuff and marketing yourself is good, but I think that it's much better to prioritize making content that people will remember and follow you. In the same way that if you've got friends, you don't need to set up automatic reminders for them to ask you for coffee. They'll be like, oh, haven't seen Lena in about a week. Let me see if she's free for a coffee, because they were just thinking about you in their head. I just think that's the way forward. I think maybe we should all start consuming less content, but consume it more enthusiastically. And I'm trying to do that with my, consumption. Next year, I want to read the back catalogue of a few authors that I really love. I want to complete TV series that I really care about, like The Crown. I love The Crown so much. I bought the book, guys. And then I can read a log about which bits are true in the TV show, and I can love all the little historical... Anyway, life is short. Your feed shouldn't be an endless stream of homework for other people to sift through. And I think it's better as well to not make content that's homework for other people. Whether not following the algorithm will mean you find success in a monetary way, if it gathers stuff. I don't know, sometimes it really works for people. There's lots of people that have loads of followers that don't really post that often. Contrapoints comes to mind. Every single one of her videos is a masterpiece, and she uploads like every 2 months. But it's always worth it, and I always remember to check if she's uploaded another one. So yeah, think about how you balance knowing about the algorithm and being like, okay, Instagram wants me to post every day. Instagram wants me to put everything on my stories and push myself to the top of people's feeds all the time. YouTube wants me to upload at least once a week. And I do try and upload regularly, but if I think pushing myself to upload regularly is going to affect my mental health, affect my day, affect my real relationships, and it's going to be something that I upload and don't really mean, it can get fucked, really, to be honest. And I think that also comes with not having it as your big financial basis. If you do want to make this a job, diversify your revenue stream, or if I'm not talking like a Silicon Valley public school boy, make lots of pots. The pots thing is something I'm still working on. But thank you so much for watching. If you have been here from the beginning, I want to hear in the comments old videos you particularly remember, or maybe regret watching. Maybe you can point out where I got it wrong in videos. Making and updating this YouTube channel has been, really part of the making of me, and has really helped me reflect on my own life and have a lot of hope for humanity, because to meet strangers who worry about the same things as you, care about the same things as you, are working towards the same things as you, is a great inkling of the way the world is changing for the better. And I think when you know the world, or at least the people in it, are trying to change for the better, I think it's much easier to get on with your own personal day-to-day inconveniences, struggles, doubts. So thank you so much for that. Struggles, to be sincere. Comment below and tell me a YouTuber or a content creator or an author that does that for you. The person who you're like, I always remember where you are and when you're uploading, and I check in for you, and the people you think that are getting it right, basically. Thank you so much for watching. If you heard me talk about the Gumption Club and you are curious about it and want to know more, you can click on the link in the description to learn about that. You can join for as little as $1, or I don't know what it is now, 70p probably, 80p at this point. And yeah, I'll see you in my next one. Frog Slug out. Here's to another fucking 10 years of this shit.